Welcome back, folks. I wasn't going to do a video today, but I had to come out and close up my vehicle for the night. So my tripod was kind of sitting right there, so I'm like, yeah, I'll talk about what's on my mind. And what's on my mind today was compost. I'm cleaning out the duck coop, right? And I had shoveled a pile of it out and put it in a pile. So about a third of the coop, put it out into a pile. And what I like to do is let it sit there and until I see mycelium, right? And then I'll take it and transport it where I'm going to work it across the road. But while I was across the road and I was tending to my compost, a lady that I know, she's about 76-ish, and she came in and parked in my driveway and walked across the road to where I was. And I had the four-wheeler in the wagon. And I don't know if you can hear me over the peepers and the tree frogs. And about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, folks, is when the bullfrogs start chiming in. So, yeah, it gets pretty loud here. But anyway, the wind is as it has been all day. It's coming right from the, well, let's see, southwest, I guess. So the smell from the coop litter was going away from her, and she was walking over to me. Well, the wind swirled a little bit, folks, and I can tell you right now, I thought she had smelled something that she had never smelled before, and she might not have, folks, okay? She's from New York. So, New York City, by the way, New York City. So, when she got a whiff of that, she backed up, I am not kidding, about 40 yards. And she's hard of hearing to begin with, so she was trying to hold a conversation with me, and she didn't want to smell that chicken litter at all. It completely disgusted her. And I've got to change my clothes because I'm still in the clothes that I did the coop litter. So I was right into it. I was the barn shovel, and I was taking it out of the wagon and putting it in a pile. And anyway, she said this is the reason that she never got into having chickens. So she couldn't stand the smell. She thinks chicken are dirty. She'll only eat chicken that's all packaged up into a store. And I didn't even go there with her, folks. I didn't even go there with her. But she had never had any contact with a live chicken until about 7 years ago when she came in the yard as a visitor with some of my friends. So, and now every once in a while she'll come over and just stop in and say, hey, how you doing? But the first time she came here was the year that I had like 300 guinea geese hatch, okay? And they were all running around, and I had, I don't know, 30 or 40 baby chicks that were running around. And I didn't have my ducks yet, though, but I had my turkeys. She had never seen a live turkey before either. But my chickens have been trained that when somebody pulls into the yard, they usually have something to feed my chickens. So when somebody pulls into my yard, all the birds come rushing right at that vehicle, waiting to be treated, right? She was so panicked, folks, that she saw all these birds come from all over the yard. The guinea were way up on the other side of the garden. They were flying in the air. and because they wanted a treat. They wanted either bread or cracked corn or whatnot. So she was so scared that she screamed and got back into that SUV so fast, folks, and closed that door, and she refused to come out. My birds scared her. So that was a little wake-up call for her, and I got quite a chuckle out of it, honestly. So she's come a long ways from seeing her first live chicken and her first live turkey, and she didn't even know what a guinea fowl was, folks. So to coming on her own about 2 or 3 times a year, and she brings bread or her leftovers to treat the birds, right? So, and she really loves my geese, folks. She really likes my geese. So anyway, so this is why she said that the smell of the manure was the reason why she would never own chickens. Now, my chickens are very well taken care of, but they are a chicken, right? They walk around and they step in their own poo and all of that, and they do defecate, so, waste is just smelly, right? So I said, what are you going to do if something happens where you really have to either raise a chicken or help raise chickens, or because she's never ever had a garden, folks. All her food, 100%, has always come from the grocery store, folks, all her life, okay? So she doesn't know the first thing about gardening whatsoever. She doesn't know if a garden looks good or if it looks bad or if it's a vegetable or a weed. She doesn't have a clue. So I said, what are you going to do if you have to do this someday? She goes, I just won't do it. I refuse to do it. She goes, I'd rather starve and I'd rather die. I said, well, your belly's going to tell you differently about time your belly starts screaming that it wants food. She was adamant that she would just starve to death. She would just starve to death because she didn't want to deal with that smell, and she couldn't believe that I was in there with a barn shovel and just tossing that over, and that was all new to her. She had never ever seen that done, folks. So when you are that far removed from where your food comes from, you're in trouble. You're in trouble because not all food comes from a grocery market all packaged up. That chicken once ran around and ate and pooped, right? It did, but she doesn't have that connection whatsoever. So I said, now you know that I raise my birds for meat, right? She goes, but you raise your birds to have eggs. I said, well, yes, because, they're meat birds, they're egg birds, they're whatever. I try to get the most out of my flock as I can. So they're either breeders, they're egg layers, and then turn into meat birds, or I just strictly raise them for meat, right? But she's way far removed from that whole concept, folks. Now, it makes me wonder how many people are out there that are like that. Because if for some reason you could not get your food from the store anymore and you had to rely on getting your chicken fix, your poultry fix, whatever it is, your meat fix, from a local farmer, maybe they'll understand. I don't know. Maybe that hunger of the belly will drive them to eat no matter what, which I think is going to happen to most people, right? You can't deny that stomach when it's hungry, and it's been hungry for days and days and days. So another thing, she couldn't believe that I was out in the sun doing all that heavy lifting. And I said, it's not all about raising birds. It's not all about gardening. You have to know how to garden. You have to know how to plant. You have to know your animals that you're raising. You have to know all of this. And what comes with that is usually hard work, right? It's not like going out into your garden and bringing back a clean 5-pound bag of carrots. It's not that simple. It's not like going out to the coop and bringing a package of chicken breast all packaged up nice and pretty to cook. There's a lot of work that goes into that, and a lot of work goes into it, a lot of muscle goes into it, a lot of thought, a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of money right now. And with that comes, heavy lifting. It just does. I mean, coop litter, of course, in a barn shovel, it's pretty heavy, right? Until it's all composted and lightens up. So, but she is so far removed from that, folks, that if she had to rely on living the way some of us do, one, she is so out of shape, folks, that she would probably have a heart attack or a stroke. She probably would. So that's something that she would have to work into, and she would have to get used to the smell, because that all comes with it, right? So, yeah, birds are dirty, she said. Birds are dirty. Unless you buy the bird already processed, already packaged up nice and pretty, and you bring it home and it's ready to cook and eat, right? So I wonder about those people. I really do. I wonder the shock that they are going to get. So she said that she would starve to death before she lived like I did. Well, I guess that would be her choice, but I got an idea that she would sing a different song if that ever came down to it, right? So she didn't stay very long, folks. She had to go home and change her clothes and take a shower. That's all well and good. That's all well and good. That was about 10:30 this morning, and I've still got my same clothes on, folks. I was right elbowed right into it, elbows, right into it. So, but I not only did that, I got another nice sized wagon of sawdust, which was heavy and wet. And then I grabbed my loppers and I cut a lot of brush where I planted my field peas, right? Those whole yellow peas. They're up 3 to 4 inches now, so they're doing very well over there. I did plant right directly behind them some heirloom Monmouth, the big sunflowers, and for the seed, right? And I planted them in a row right behind the peas, just in case those were climbing peas, not just 2 or 3 feet. Maybe sometimes you can get them that go 8-10 feet. So I figured that they could climb up the sunflower stalks. That's the plan anyway. That's the thought. I don't know. And at the base of those, I planted my pumpkins. So that area over there is designated just to supplementing the birds' feed. Now there's other plots that I will plant my summer squash and more pumpkins and old squash seeds and to supplement the bird feed, right? So, but if you've never done this before, you've never grown your own food, people don't think the way that some of us do, right? There's multi-purpose for a lot of things, right? So those people are going to have a huge wake-up call, folks. And that reminds me, and we've spoken about this before, if the world comes crashing down all around us, and it's looking like it will, right? Some of these people are going to be in so much shock that they'll completely lose it, folks. They'll completely lose it. They will be so stressed and so worried and so panicked that they will either have a heart attack or a stroke or do something to themselves. I really do believe that, because it's going to be so overwhelming and way too much for them to deal with. So that's just human nature anyway, but a lot of people, I'll only eat chicken all packaged up nice and pretty from the store shelf. They'll either figure it out or they'll starve, right? That's how I look at it. So I work very hard for what I've got here. I work extremely hard. It's right out straight. Anybody that runs a homestead, even a small homestead or farms, you know all the hard work, and it takes hours and hours and hours a day. So you know, you get it. So you take someone from the city that's never gardened and had never seen a chicken before, and they're thrown into that whole environment, they might as well be on another planet, folks. They're going to be so overwhelmed that they might just crash and burn right there, because it's going to be too much for them. It's going to be a culture shock. It is. It's going to be a culture shock. So, you know, and there's other people that think, well, the government's going to feed us. The government won't let us starve. I just stop right there. I don't even go into that anymore. I don't try to educate them, because if they're that blind and that far gone up here in their thought, because they're listening to the people they should not be listening to, that are steering them wrong. If God gave them a brain, they're not using it. You try to teach them, you try to educate them, and you're laughed at, or you're told you're an old homesteader, that it's easier to go to a store and buy your meat and vegetables. Well, it is, folks. It is easier, but it's not as good, right? Anyway. So, anyway, thank you for coming back, and we'll see you next time. I might stand behind the camera a little bit and have you listen to the tree frogs, the peepers, and once in a while you will hear a meadow hen, and once in a while you'll hear the bullfrogs sing. But if you really want to hear the bullfrogs sing, folks, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning on this bog, I can tell you it gets a little crazy. So y'all have a good night, and come back.